Hello and welcome to another revision video. Today I'm looking at the foundation tier revision and I'm looking at pie charts. So this is a page taken from the foundation tier revision workbook from Edexcel. This is topic 118 or pie charts. And I'm going to have to try and show you how I would do my angles. I'm going to be bringing in my snippet tool just to help me out. But let's crack on. Okay, so question one. Brett carries out a survey of 60 people. He asks them their favourite takeaway. Table shows information. Draw a pie chart to represent this data. And they've done a scaffold here that I'm not a massive fan of, but I'll talk about how I would prefer to do it afterwards. But I'll fill it in for now. So they're saying you take each of the frequency, you divide it by the number, then times it by 360, which is okay. So that would be 21 divided by 60, that would be 9 divided by 60, and that would be 16 divided by 60 to work out the size of the angles. So I'll bring in my protractor, I'll bring in my calculator even. So I'm going to do 21 over, I've missed one out, let's start that again. I'm going to do 14 over 60 times by 360. And that's going to give me each of my angle sizes. So I've got 84 first of all. For my second one, I'm going to just replay and change the 14 for 21. So 126. And for my next one, replace that with 9. 54. And then finally, replace that with 16. So 96. And that's an absolutely fine way of doing it. I tend to do, I start with working out how much each frequency is going to be worth. So I do 360 divided by 60 is 6 degrees. So each frequency will be worth 60 degrees. And then I'll just times these by 60. Times these by 6. And I'll include it as an extra column next to my frequency. So 14 times by 6 is going to be 84. 21 times by 6 would be 126, 54, and 96. But that's just my personal preference. Right, bear with me now. I'm going to try and draw that pie chart. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to bring in my protractor now. I'm going to make it as small as I can. Okay, and I'm just going to mark the angles around the outside. So I have to do this with an arc line, but if I was doing this in an exam, I would just tend to do it with a dot. So my first one is 84. So I'm measuring 84 degrees. I'll change colour now. And I'm measuring 126. I've gone slightly over, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go for a 54 degree. And then my final angle should be, provided I've drawn it well, should be 96 degrees. So so we're slightly out, but you saw that as I was doing it, I was out by a couple of degrees in a few places. And then let's see if I can make this ruler smaller. It's incredibly big at the moment. No major issue. So I'm going to go straight line through the center of the circle and then to the arc line. So that's going to be my first section. There we go, and that's going to be representing, let's make my line smaller, and that's going to represent Indian, so I'm going to small obviously. My next angle then is going to be for Chinese, so that's all the way around here. Actually, let's do it this way, it'll be slightly easier. And then center of the angle through to the point that I marked on the circumference. There we go. And that's going to be my Chinese. Well, let me right while my ruler's close. And then we've got my Indian and my others. I just need one line for that though. There we go, and we can get rid of the ruler now. So that was Italian, and then others. And that's how I do my pie chart. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and very similar question. So I'm actually not going to bother with this scaffold just because I don't like it. But you've seen how I did it in the previous question. So I would just do 360 divided by 90 gives us 4 degrees. So each person will be worth 4 degrees. So I'm timesing by 4 for each of these. And that gives me my angles. 23 times by 4 gives me 92. 31 times by 4. Help if I typed it in right. 31 times by 4. 124. We've then got 22 times by 4, which should be 88. And then finally 14 times by 4 gives me 56. I could add these up, check that they add up to 360, but I'm going to go straight into drawing now. Okay, so again, I'm going to do this as kind of one, hopefully. So I'm going to bring my protractor in and make it smaller. Still bigger than my circle, which is a bit awkward. I might actually have to change my movement of this slightly. There we go. Right. So center of protractor on center of the circle. Check I can't make it any smaller. There we go. Okay, so I'm measuring a 92-degree angle first of all. There's my first angle. Change my pen color now. Then 124. Gosh, and I've messed that one up. Let me just undo that. Right, so let's try that one again. So 124. There we go. And then my next one. 88. And then my final answer should be 56 if I've drawn it accurately. So there we go. And then it's a case of switching to my ruler. This is the one that doesn't look particularly pretty. Right, so my first one was, and I'm just going to use my ruler and draw all my lines in. So first one, first section, spin it round again, spin it this way actually. And then my final one. Okay, and then I can take my ruler off and label my sides, label my sections, sorry. So we had blue here, green here, red, and then finally yellow. And that's how I would do my pie chart. Okay, and Elaine carries out a survey of some students. The pie chart shows the information about their favourite sports. 20 students said that cricket is their favourite sport. How many students said that darts is their favourite sport? Okay, well, that's quite a nice, straightforward one. I was thinking that might be a bit more complicated, but 60 degrees represents cricket, 30 degrees represents darts, so half the amount. So all we're doing is 20 divided by 2, so that would be 10. And then show that 120 students took part in the survey. Well, 360 divided by 60 means that that's 6. So there are 6 lots of 60 degrees, so 6 times by 20 would be equal to 120. There we go. Okay, I hope you found that useful. So again, that is from the foundation tier, that is pie charts. And again, the actual drawing of the pie charts I've done in a different program, but I hope that's useful. If you found that useful, please subscribe if you like.